Coming up on CinemaKC, we take you behind the scenes interviewing the hottest filmmakers in town. I'm Michelle Davidson.
And I'm Erin McGrane. And on today's show, we're going to introduce you to some festivals and showcases that give our local filmmakers a chance to see their work on the big screen.
But for now, you can enjoy those films on a much smaller screen from the comfort of your couch. CinemaKC starts now.
Welcome to CinemaKC. Today's show is all about film festivals and showcases.
We're excited to have Trent Coffin, a filmmaker and animator who won an award at last year's AMC Theaters Kansas City Film Fest. And we have the director of that festival here, Jeph Scanlon. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here. Let's take a look at Trent's film. This is Hell for Bread. Trent, it's so funny.
Great film.
Thank you.
So you're a student at the Kansas City Art Institute. What is your background in film and animation?
Well, I guess it all started when I was a little kid. I would make animations that were basically big flip books on 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper that I would shoot with a camcorder but directly above it. I went out to UCLA when I was about 14. I took an animation course out there, and also made a bunch of short films with my friends after school and high school, which I submitted to the local high school's film festival and didn't win anything. But that's all right, because I went to the Kansas City Art Institute shortly afterwards, and I made Hell for Bread, which won the Best Animated Short for the student category in the Kansas City area. So
you're winning now.
Yeah, you started young. I love to hear that. Now, how long did it take to make Hell for Bread?
It took me approximately 4 months from start to finish. I started animating it in about March of 2010, finished it in June, and there was one snafu where the film file itself on my computer got corrupted and I lost all my work, but luckily I had saved it right beforehand and in a different version, so all I had to do was just re-edit a few things and it was good to go.
Those are the worst experiences with technology.
Gosh,
Oh, that makes me cringe just thinking about it.
Now, Jeph, you show a variety of kinds of films at the film festival, from different genres and also covering different topics. What other sorts of things can people see at the film fest besides animation?
All kinds of stuff. We have a U.S. International division and a Heartland division. Heartland division includes films made in Kansas and Missouri. So there's two different sort of levels of competition, and within each one, there are narrative, documentary, animation, and experimental.
And it's a great film festival.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Jeph, Trent, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have more CinemaKC after the break.
The Independent Filmmakers Coalition, or IFC, was formed in 1993 by both professional and amateur filmmakers to support independent filmmaking. They meet every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. right here at the Westport Coffee House. You're watching CinemaKC.
Welcome back to CinemaKC. We have a lot of great film festivals in the Kansas City area, including the Kansas City Urban Film Festival, and they're bringing some style onto the set at Atlas Worldwide. We love it.
No, it's fun. I mean, this is what I get excited about. We're talking about movies, we're talking about film festivals, we're talking about supporting the film community in Kansas City.
Let's introduce you
this
first.
is right.
He's excited.
I am.
So excited. This is Shawn Edwards, who is the director of the film festival. And over here we have Diallo Javonne French, who is a filmmaker who is screened at the fest.
Now let's take a look at your film. Here is May This Be Love.
I love this movie.
May this be the dawn that shatters the night of my life that is far too full of empty mornings. So tired of having to face the space in my room, the vacancy in my bed. Views through stark corridors have far too often led to more space. May this be the morning that I rise and find some way to harmonize, to create a song born from pain that can soothe the soul with a medicinal refrain. Strolling city streets in quiet retrospection, thoughts cross my mind like busy intersections. So I seek shelter in buildings, in borrowed beats, in the embrace of arms that are not my own, a place that I can call home. In quiet contemplation, I attempt to crystallize the incredible insanity of it all. I can't help but wonder if I'm still on the ball or just off the wall, not knowing whether to run, cry, or crawl. I just hold it in because there's no one to blame. It's nobody's fault. And then in she walked, possessing a beauty no words could explain, like black rose petals bathing in purple rain. The best things happen when you least expect, and I instantly knew I had to come correct. But before our lives could intersect, because she was someone I had never met, I had to do a background check. The look in her eyes made me suspect that she was feeling me. Immediately there was chemistry. Endorphins released in each word we would speak. Hormones and perspiration mixed with vasopressin. We were giving each other biology lessons. May this be love. May our first meal be like the Last Supper. May our communion be divine. May I be her broken bread. May I be her poured out wine. May this be love. Although the words have not yet passed our lips, there will never be a sound as beautiful as this, the sweet silence of our mouths meeting in a kiss. No sight I will ever see will be as beautiful as her lying next to me. And no taste will ever be as sweet as a kiss on her neck. Just to be sure, I had to double check. I added a third just for good measure, and the fourth one was simply for my personal pleasure. Each moment offers evidence that God is still on the throne. Through his grace, she now fills my space with hymns and songs and heavenly songs. May this be love. Well, words can be misleading, and emotions often hide. Looks may be deceiving, but kisses never lie.
Diallo, that was a beautiful and timeless film.
Thank you.
A love story about 18th and Vine. Tell me about the poem.
It was written by Glenn North, and he's a friend of mine and an excellent poet. And basically, I shot the film first and had him just kind of watch the film, and he kind of wrote the poem to go with what he was seeing visually. I like to tell stories through images rather than dialogue. And also, the music is by Robert Glasper.
Wonderful.
Now, Diallo, your film screened at the Kansas City Urban Film Festival, and Shawn Edwards is the founder. He's also known around the world because he's a film critic. You've seen him before, total superstar here. Why did you start the film festival?
I started a film festival for filmmakers like Diallo. We wanted to give filmmakers an opportunity to show their work and have people watch their films who didn't necessarily have big budgets. They did whatever they needed to do to get their films made, so we wanted to provide a forum in which they could do so. Now, the festival's grown, but we still have sort of the same philosophy because all the films still have sort of that maverick, get it done by any means necessary attitude.
And it's really taken off. You have films, even studio films that come in.
Now we have major studio films, but I like the small independent joints like my man Diallo. And that's what gets me going. I love those, man, because he worked hard to get it done and made it happen.
And we enjoy it. And thank you for being on the show, Diallo
Thank you for
and
having me.
Shawn.
Oh, thank you.
We'll see you after the break. AMC Theaters is headquartered in Kansas City. They're leaders in the movie exhibition industry. AMC Theaters welcomes hundreds of millions of guests annually through its doors to escape into the magical reality of film for around 2 hours. You're watching CinemaKC.
Welcome back. You know, CinemaKC is not just a television show. We are one part of a not-for-profit organization. And we have with us today one of our fearless leaders, John Shipp. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and it's great to be here.
We're excited to have you on this side of the camera. Usually he's waiting in the studio, but we're excited to show your story. Here's a piece of the film documentary, The Film Peddler.
Along with two other partners, Dan Viets and Butch Rigby, John also started a nonprofit organization called Thank You, Walt Disney, with the purpose of restoring the old Laugh-O-Gram studio building in downtown Kansas City.
And we're still in the process of raising money to have it eventually become an interactive historic site. A lot of people don't know that Kansas City cartoonists were the basis for Hollywood animation. A lot of the greats have come from the Kansas City area.
The three of them realized that if they didn't save the building, then no one would, and an historical landmark would be lost forever.
In the city where Walt Disney really grew up and learned his craft, there was nothing to signify or mark the fact that he'd ever even come through here.
We were able to buy the old Laugh-O-Gram studio building at 31st and Forest. Now this was a building where Walt Disney started his company. It was crumbling, falling down.
Walt Disney in 1921 had launched his company, Laugh-O-Gram Studios, and had essentially had the first Disney studio in the world located in this building. And in this building, a young Walt Disney sat up there on the second floor in his offices, but was feeding a little mouse, a little semi-tame mouse, beans out of a can of beans that he had because he couldn't afford to go out for dinner or lunch. And that little mouse, of course, years later, was the germ of the idea that became Mickey Mouse.
One day I was driving by the building just to see how it was doing, and we had the windows boarded up on the bottom. And I noticed that there had been several movie posters glued to the boards. Now that's called wild posting, where a promotion, a management agency or a public relations agency or for a movie will tell kids, just go glue these anywhere you can glue them, any surface you can put them on, where it's kind of spot marketing. Well, the odd thing was, it was a Touchstone Pictures movie. And I thought to myself, here's the irony. I wonder if the kid who was gluing this movie poster up had any idea that Touchstone Pictures was a wholly owned subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, and Walt Disney himself sat right behind that glass eating lunches some days and sat upstairs so broke he couldn't pay for his tab down there. I go, what a great irony in the world to see that. I always thought, people don't sometimes understand the great history right there at their fingertips. That building was sort of the metaphor for the neighborhood, and a kid walking down the street would look at that thing and be reminded they come from a terrible place and there's no opportunity. But in fact, what that building will do is that building will be the point where a kid walking down the street can go inside. This kid is going to start understanding that the Walt Disneys of the world came from their circumstance, came from a tough situation, and it gives them vision. Sometimes you can tell a kid, hey, work hard, go to school, get an education, do great things. Goes right past them. But when Mickey Mouse says it, they listen. And that's a great story. That's a great thing about that building.
And as we all know, Walt Disney is one of the most important cultural icons of the 20th century and has been, was responsible for more things in the way of family entertainment than probably any other human being has been. And that's our own Kansas City's own Walt Disney.
John, I know that Disney is not your only passion. Tell us about your commitment to preserve Old Film Row.
Well, first of all, film rows around the country, as a general rule, are all gone. Kansas City is blessed that we've probably got more of the original buildings from early film history dating back 100 years. Paramount, Warner Brothers, Fox, all of them are here. So we think it's vital to preserve that history.
What is your favorite thing about working in the film business in Kansas City?
In Kansas City, it's the people more than anything else. Quite frankly, I've lived in New York and LA, but Kansas City is where it all comes together. This is where it converges. This is where it's happening right now.
We're glad that you're here. We'll have more with John Shipp after the break.
The lovely Ginger Rogers was born in Independence, Missouri. She went on to Hollywood to have a long career making 73 films and winning an Academy Award. But she was best known as Fred Astaire's dancing partner and love interest. You're watching CinemaKC. Welcome back to CinemaKC. John Shipp, what does CinemaKC mean to you?
It means that Kansas City has a place where all its creative people can get together and see what they're doing and watch it on the big screen and come up with ideas to make more movies.
Now, essentially, you put on film festivals, little mini film festivals or showcases, where filmmakers from around the Kansas City area can see their work on the big screen, which is such a dream for most people. They want their films to be seen. What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, first of all, that's an accomplishment in and of itself, just to see their movies on the big screen. But more importantly than that, it's bringing the people together. It's those convergences that makes all the difference.
You want to inspire more filmmaking here?
Absolutely.
Did you ever anticipate that CinemaKC would branch off in so many directions?
No way in the world. No, this has been unbelievable. In a great way.
What's next for CinemaKC?
Well, a third season, we certainly hope. But,
we hope so too.
But we'll continue to showcase independent films, you know, whether they're features, whether they're short films, anything to do with the moving image. We want to give people the chance for their work to be seen.
Well, John, we adore you. Thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate all that you do for CinemaKC and for us.
And for Kansas City.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll see you next time on CinemaKC.